not someone who celebrates Halloween at all. The only Halloweenish thing I've done today is wear this t-shirt, which is the bean from Catnips in a pumpkin. And me and my boyfriend, we have carved some pumpkins, which you can see here in the background, and I think they are gorgeous. That one is mine, and that one is my boyfriend's. And I thought they would be the focus, the background focus of this video, and set the mood, sort of, kind of. And it being Halloween, I was thinking about doing a video where I read some scary stories from Reddit. I've actually been watching like, I think 7 or 9 videos, ASMR videos, where someone has been reading scary stories from Reddit like these last couple of days, and I've enjoyed them so much, and I haven't like been able to get the thought of it out of my mind, so I'm gonna do one myself. I'm gonna do a video tonight for you, where I read some scary stories from Reddit. Take them with a grain of salt. They are under threads, which are labeled like true scary stories. Believe them if you want to, or believe them not. It's totally up to you. This may not be a really relaxing video because some stories are actually really creepy. So yeah, just giving you a heads up that maybe if you are superstitious and easily scared, maybe not want to watch this at all, or you maybe not want to watch this before bed. But yeah, enough talking. Of course, I will link all the threads I'm reading from in the description if you want to see. Yeah, but without further ado, and without more of an intro, because I know what you're here for, and I will give you that. So, look at these cute pumpkins me and my boyfriend have carved today, and relax, 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 and let's go. So, I have read it up on my phone, and I will be reading from my phone. You ready? Okay, so I will start with a thread which is called "What's your best true spooky story?" Okay. So the person who wrote this have deleted their account, so it just said deleted. But anyway, this person writes, "The scariest thing I've had happen. The scariest thing I've had happen while camping. So, I live in Eastern Oregon, and my mom lives in Western Oregon. I went to visit her for the summer, and she's very outdoorsy, so we decided to take the 1-hour drive from her city to the coast. We end up at this free campsite at the top of this hill. Huge foothills of the coastal mountains, about a 25-minute drive from the top where the campsite is to the bottom where the main road was. And we were the only campers there. We relaxed for the rest of the day, made food, etc. A truck full of men drive up the hill and talk with my mom. I don't know what about, wasn't suspicious at the time, and they leave us. Fast forward to the middle of the night, I wake up to my mom sitting straight notice the zipper was even moving. Thankfully, my mom has quick wits and said very loudly, "Kenny, grab the gun." Kenny is my dad, although that doesn't matter, and mind you, he was not there. Just us girls, like I previously said. They left. No harm was done. Thank the Lord for my mama. This story, I heard this story in another video, but I will read this here too because it's just so good. It's written by Tighty Whitey's 37. I lived in an old apartment in 2002. The place was built in 1900s, so it was just over 100 years old when I moved in. The living room and kitchen were fine, but the bathroom and bedroom were unnerving. Like I just always felt like I was being watched, especially in the bedroom if the closet door was open. Those unnerving feelings just became moderately uncomfortable as I settled in. I felt safe in the bedroom, but only if the door was locked. One night I was dead asleep when there was a loud bang on my bedroom door. When I got up the courage to get out of bed, I checked the apartment and all the windows were closed and locked from the inside. The door still had the chain secured. No one was in there. I mentioned the closet in the bedroom. I never liked going in there and I never liked if the door was open. For some reason, in my head, I would hear gasping noises. So for that reason, the closet stayed closed. A month or more after I was woken to the bang on my door, I was dead asleep. But something woke me up, and it was a pressure on me like being held down. It was pitch black in my room. I couldn't see anything, but I knew someone was standing over me. When I could finally turn on a bedside lamp, no one was there. After then, I couldn't sleep in the dark. I had to sleep with the lamp on. That incident scared the life out of me. And after that, the unnerving feeling of being watched intensified. Friends would come over and comment about being uncomfortable in the bathroom, like being watched. It became so uncomfortable for me. When I had the chance to move to another unit, I jumped at it. I packed up and got out. After me, several people rented the apartment and they would move out within months. I became friendly with the building manager and told him that I felt the place was haunted. He kinda laughed it off. Years after, they were renovating the place. Building manager was doing some painting in there. The building owner was there too. I went and checked out the apartment and it looked nicer. It didn't feel as creepy. I got to talking with the building owner, and through the course of the conversation, he just throws it out there that a former tenant committed suicide in the closet by hanging themselves. He also mentioned that the original designer of the building lived in that apartment and died in there. I wasn't mad when I heard that, but felt validated that what I experienced was real. That's creepy. Very creepy. If you believe in ghosts, comment. If you have any scary stories, comment them down below and we can all be spooked. Okay. Another story from Dick Robnuts. When my grandparents bought their house for a family of 10, my grandpa found a fake wall upstairs. He tore it down to make more room for the family. Behind the wall were children's clothes and play toys, almost like they walked off the room in a hurry. My mom told me stories of sitting in her room and something circling the walls around her, sounding like wallpaper being torn. When she moved out, my aunt moved into the same room. She would wake up with pictures she hung up laying on her chest in the morning. She would wake up with pictures she hung up laying on her chest in the morning. My cousins also have stories of hearing footsteps coming up the stairs and stopping outside the door in the middle of where she is, and we don't either. About a week later, police find her body in a dumpster. She had been dead for 4 to 5 days. She had been mugged and had several stab wounds. Incredibly tragic. Who would mug an old lady? Here's the spooky story. A few days just before she was found, my 3 cousins swore they saw her walking around in the backyard and knocking on their window. The following day had search going through the area. It wasn't until the body was found that we realized what they saw couldn't be true according to the police timeline, but they swore it was her. Edit. I'm adding more context for the story. I initially kept it brief because I didn't want to have a wall of text, but since this blew up a bit, I'll include more details. The backyard was actually pretty big and long because it was shared by their entire apartment complex, which had 4 units, 2 upstairs, 2 down. My cousins were in the downstairs unit on the left. Again, like I said in a different post, it was gated on all sides by wooden fencing. My cousin's window had blind spots, so you couldn't see the entire backyard. It wasn't nighttime, but the sun was setting. They said it was almost down at this point, so I assume around 7 p.m. They're in their room, which has a window that sees into the backyard. It was ghetto, and they were pretty poor, so their beds only had the mattress, not the frame supporting it. It was a queen and a single pressed up against the wall with the window. So basically, to look into the backyard, you were standing up on a mattress, looking against how you normally face, back against the wall, sitting down on the mattress. Youngest brother, holy shit, there's someone in the back. She just walked away. Oldest, laying down on the bed. What the fuck are you talking about? Youngest, dude, it looks like old lady. She's walking around where grandma's vegetable garden is. Oldest. Youngest, come fucking look, she's just walked away. Oldest goes and looks. I don't see anything. Stop being stupid. Goes back to laying down. Little one stands there looking at him. Middle brother comes to look a moment later. Oh shit, she's right there. What the fuck, she's coming to us. They all look to see the lady knocking on the window. They scream, panic, and run out to Dad. Dad obviously doesn't believe them, but after a bit he gives in. He goes out and checks. Nothing. So just a side note, the way these apartments were connected, you couldn't go into the backyard from your individual unit. You had to get out into the main hall, which had a door that opened into the backyard. That is creepy. Alright, this one is posted by Ghostbusters BM. 4 years ago, I lived in a very large farmhouse that was converted into 2 apartments. The house was known as the Old Boys' Home. It was used to house boys. With behavioral issues, but was closed due to allegations of molestation. Anyway, I was living with my boyfriend and 3-year-old daughter at the time. My bedroom had a large fireplace that had been boarded up and painted over. I decided to push my bed up against it one day while I was rearranging was sound asleep in her room. Then the next night came. Around 1 a.m. Again, my dog had started to whimper at our doors, so my boyfriend got up to take him outside. You know that feeling in a bed when someone lies down next to you, where the bed pushes in and there is warmth in your back? I felt that, so I assumed my boyfriend had come back to bed. I rolled over. My boyfriend wasn't in the bed, and I felt the fucking bed release pressure. Whatever was lying next to me has gotten up in that second. I moved my bed the next day to the other side of the room and never had another incident in the 2 years I remained in that house. That's creepy. This one is a bit funny. I went to use the bathroom at work, and when I entered, there was no one in there. The bathroom has 4 urinals and 4 stalls, 1 handicap, and I did not see any feet in any of the stalls. I took up my normal spot inside one of the stalls and was doing my business when I heard the sound of someone peeing into one of the urinals. But no one had entered the bathroom. The door is heavy and loud when it closes, so I would have heard someone entering. After a normal amount of time, the peeing stopped, and I heard a few footsteps, but the door never opened. When I finished up, I did a cursory look, and there was no one in the bathroom. It's a ridiculous story, but I definitely heard a pee ghost. Alright, this one is posted by Tom Evans. At the time, I was around 14. I'd asked my dad to wake me up early that morning at about 5 a.m. because I had some work to get done. That morning, I was woken up and I flung my legs over the side of my bed. I felt a tug on both of them. What I thought at the time was just my dad trying to get me to hurry up. I reached over to pick up my phone and I turned it on, 3:30 a.m. and I looked over at the black figure I assumed was my dad, and it was gone. So creepy. Okie dokie. I'm gonna change the thread now and read a thread that's called As It's Nearly Halloween. How about we share some creepy stories? I'll go first. When I was my English is so bad. When I was about 13, my mom and dad invited our previous neighbors from the block of flats we lived in until I was 5 years old. When I was about 13, my mom and dad invited over our previous neighbors from the block of flats we lived in until I was 5 years old. Anyway, I'd been sent to bed, but could still hear everyone talking about this. Anyway, I'd been sent to bed, but could still hear everyone talking about this and that, until the neighbor said, "Hey, Dixie's mom, do you remember when Dixie used to complain that there was someone in his room? Well, there's a family that just moved into the floor above who have a 3-year-old son. He's complaining of the exact same things Dixie did." This creeped me out. I had no recollection of any of this, so the next day I asked my mom. Her first reaction was, "You don't remember?" Then she told me all about the weird stuff that used to happen. Footsteps up and down the hall, shit going missing and stuff. She said the final thing to happen was when she was listening to a record one day, and it started to slow down, like someone was holding a finger gently on a bladder, till it finally came to a stop. My mom said she snapped at this point and started shouting, "Will you leave us the fuck alone?" As soon as she said this, the record went straight back to playing normally, and we never experienced anything again. I've never experienced anything like that since. This is 100% true, even though most people I tell this to in real life don't believe me. When I was really little, my parents would let me stay up late on the weekends and watch TV until I fall asleep. I really loved these times, and I would stay up later than anybody else just because I could. Well, one night I was almost asleep on the couch when I heard a noise on our front porch. It was the sound of our old-fashioned porch swing moving back and forth. I was a little scared, so I crept toward the bay windows of my living room and peeked out towards the porch. Sitting on my front porch swing was an older woman, probably in her 50s, wearing nothing but a nightgown, covered in blood, and holding a huge kitchen knife. I flipped out immediately and ran screaming into my parents' room, but was too terrified to form words. My parents saw that I was upset, but when I finally was able to tell them what I saw, my dad got really angry and told me that it was just a dream and to go back to bed. I refused and kept crying and screaming until he had enough and snatched my arm and dragged me towards the front door to prove that nothing was there. I kicked and screamed all the way, trying to make him stop, but he kept pulling me. Finally, we got to the door. He unlocked it, swung it open, and said, "See, there's nothing." To this day, I have never seen the look of fear and shock that was on his face when that woman turned and stared at both of us and slowly stood up with a knife. My dad slammed the door shut and got my mom to call the police while he went and got his gun. He went back to the door with a 12 gauge and cracked the door enough to stick the barrel out. He asked her what she was doing, and she said, "Somebody killed my husband, but it wasn't me." My dad told her that the police were coming, and she freaked out, grabbed the knife, and walked away. The police found her 15 minutes later, trying to break into one of our neighbors' houses. I never slept in the living room again. Edit. Oh yeah, I forgot that after she left, my dad called and warned my crazy uncle who lived next door what was happening. Apparently, he was waiting on his front porch with his shotgun when she walked by. He pointed it at her and just said, "Keep moving, bitch." Update. I just talked to my mom and she said that they never really found out the whole story, but apparently she was crazy and off her medication. Her and her husband got into a fight and she tried to attack him with a knife, but didn't seriously hurt him. When he got her out of the house, she cut herself with a knife, either trying to commit suicide or make it look like her husband did it. The police never talked to us about it, so that's just what they heard from the woman's neighbors. That's creepy, but it's also really, really fucking sad. Next one is posted by Lithodora. When I was younger, we frequently visited my grandparents around the holidays, even though we didn't live in the same town. My aunt lived 2 houses down from my grandparents. The lady in the house between was creepy. She was a large woman, over 6 feet. She wore logging chains around her neck, a dress, and work boots. The only time I remember seeing her outside was either in her garden, in the back, or when she was washing the outside of her house, scrubbing the actual building. She did this often. During these times, she would yell at us kids and call us all kinds of things. She would tell us the devil would be coming for us. The adults told us to leave her alone and to avoid her. We would run the distance between my aunts and my grandparents because when you passed by, she was watching out the windows. It was creepy, and we never went alone. One Halloween, one of the cousins dared us to trick-or-treat her house. I remember how scared I was, but I didn't want to be a chicken. Plus, I was going with the group. One of us rang the doorbell, and there was a lot of banging noises in the house, suddenly like doors slamming. When she answered the She had a severed head in her hands and we all went screaming. The adults told us it was a Halloween prop and we knew we shouldn't be bothering her and deserved to be scared. About a month later, my parents got a phone call that the lady had tried to kill my aunt while she was bringing in groceries and had my young cousin in her arms. The lady had one of them rope saws and had come up behind my aunt with it. She put it over her head and around her neck and proceeded to saw. My aunt naturally flipped and started kicking the door. My uncle came and beat the lady down with a fire poker. What the fuck? The police investigation revealed that the woman had been digging tunnels under her home, which were coming up under my aunt's, my grandparents, and another neighbor's house. She had been bringing the dirt up and putting it in the raised beds of the gardens. She also had a shrine of some sort underground, which had a few severed heads around it. My aunt survived, by the way, but has a long scar across her neck. That's fucking scary. Okay, next one is posted by I Hate Addicts. Firstly, my wife is also a Redditor and has been severely traumatized by a recent experience. She does not like to talk about this, so to prevent anyone from sending her messages, this is a throwaway account. That explains the name. My wife and I bought our first house in February of 2010. We immediately fell in love with it as soon as we laid eyes on it. It had everything we wanted and plus a few extras. For the first month, everything was great. Lots of painting and decorating, getting it just the way we wanted. Then, weird things started to happen randomly. First it was small things, like things upstairs being moved, putting completely different rooms than where they belonged. I chalked it up to my wife just forgetting to put things back where they belonged. The house also started to creak pretty loud. This is a fairly new house, so I just figured it was probably settling, as most new houses tend to do. One day, the wife and I was preparing dinner in the kitchen. Our stairs sit right next to the kitchen entrance, so any noises upstairs were clearly audible in the kitchen. I turned off the water at the sink, and as soon as I did, we both heard a cough. We have no kids and no one was visiting. The windows were all shut, the television was not on. This sent the coldest chill down my spine and I could feel the blood running out of my face. I looked at my wife and she too had gone pale and had this look of absolute fear. Someone was in our house and they were upstairs. I quickly grabbed the sharpest knife I could find and my wife called the police. I walked to the bottom of the steps and stood silently and heard a loud pop/creak, just like the ones I had always heard the house make. My hands were shaking and my wife was whispering to 911 operator, telling them we think we may have a robber in our home. The police arrived in minutes. Thankfully, they had been patrolling nearby. The officer walks slowly up the stairs, gun drawn. He calls out, "This is the police, is anyone upstairs?" No response. I'm right behind him, walking up the stairs. We look into the first bedroom and closet, empty. No one in the half bath either. Last room is my office where I have my PC. No one in the room or the closet. I felt the tension ease away and felt like a complete fool, making this officer search the house only to find nothing. We turned to walk out of the room and right above us, creak. I just about shat bricks. In my office closet, there's an attic access. The officer pulls the steps down and again calls out, "Is anyone up there? This is the police." No response. He turns on his flashlights and peeks his head up. He finds a man in his 40s kneeling there in the attic, looking dead at him. Gun drawn, he tells the man to come out and put his hands behind his head. They arrest the man. He didn't say a word the whole time and would not look was scruffy looking and had dirty clothes on. Me and my wife were freaking out. I don't think either of us have fully gotten over it. After questioning the man in the police station, we found out that he was a homeless man who found refuge in the house while he was still on the market. He said the doors were unlocked, and so we stayed there. Apparently, a realtor must have forgotten to lock the door after showing someone the house. He said that when people would come to the house, he would hide in the second floor attic. We bought the house, and this guy was living in it for a whole month without us even knowing it. It really freaks me out still just thinking about it. Too long didn't read. Don't shrug off all those bumps in the night. You could have a homeless man living in your attic. This is also both extremely sad and fucking scary. I mean, it's sad for the homeless man. Like, that would be one of the worst nightmares, finding someone who've been living in your house for a month. Alright, let's move on. Okay, I'm gonna read from another thread, which is called "With Halloween coming up, what is your story of the creepiest thing that's ever happened to you?" Okay, this is from Infinite Space Code. Last year, I was dog sitting for my parents while they were on holiday. They live in a very rural. I can't say that. They live in a very rural countryside village in an old barn conversion, and I hate staying there by myself. So about 10 days into house sitting, I woke up at 4 a.m. and I could hear something downstairs. Thinking I had somehow gone to bed and left the TV on, I went down to the lounge, but the TV was off. Very confused at this point, I wandered into the hall, looking for the source of the sound. Both the dogs were sat very alertly outside the office door. Then I saw that light was coming from behind the office door. I have absolutely no explanation for what happened that night. The computer in the office is my brother's, and he had been sailing in Europe for 2 months at this point, and his computer was always password protected. However, on this night, the computer was on, unlocked, and the noise I could hear was a YouTube video about Soviet experiments of dog head transplants. I worked from home the next day, as I was so scared I'd come home to find my dog's heads had been switched. That's creepy. Okay, this is from Mustache Toppings. This happened about 12 years ago. I was still living at home in high school. My parents purchased a condo from a family friend and we moved in. The lady, a family friend's mother, we bought the condo from, had passed away of natural causes inside the condo. She was an older lady, friendly from what I hear. She also dabbled in sorts of witchcraft / black magic. I don't believe she was casting evil spells on anyone, more of a hobby, I suppose. So anyway, we move in. Most of our belongings were left behind, so my parents kept the stuff they needed. Mostly furniture and coffee tables. After months of living there, we had a suspicion that we weren't alone. Now, this wasn't your typical haunted house scenario. There were no flickering lights, strange noises, or lurking shadows that led us to disbelief. It was twisted ties. Yes, just like the ones that come with the loaves of bread you buy from the store. Every now and then, we would find these strange twisted ties around the house. These random ass twisted ties would seemingly appear out of thin air, almost strategically placed so they would be noticed. Like I'd been hanging out on a couch watching TV, go to the kitchen to fetch a tasty beverage, and come back to just chilling on the coffee table. We'd find them wrapped around cords, on countertops, in desk drawers, even one time wrapped around my toothbrush. Each one unique in the shape, color, and placement. It certainly wasn't a shit your pants moment, but over time living there, you'd start to look for it and anticipate it. There were 3 of us that lived there, and of course we all blamed each other, and of course none of us ever fessed up to it. Over the years, however, there were enough isolated instances each one of us had encountered to deny it. It was kind of fun, actually. We named her the Twisted Tie Lady, and I started to collect them in my nightstand drawer just for funsies. I always wondered, why twisted ties? I tried extensive research on the web about twisted ties and if they had any significance in witchcraft, and I found nothing. A few years later, after moving out, I had learned that when the lady was alive, it became a little inside joke between her and her daughter, the family friend, to save all her twisted ties for further use. I guess that was her way of reaching out in the afterlife. Sadly, the condo complex had been wiped out from a flood, but to this day, every time I see a twisted tie, I smile. That's a nice story. This one is from Scrap Metal. I lived in my house for about 8 years now. I've joked multiple times during conversations with friends that I love my house because in the entire time we've been here, I've never felt creeped out or uneasy. I love my house because it's definitely not haunted, have been my exact words. Cut to a couple weeks ago. I'm downstairs. We have one bedroom in the corner of the basement that's been nothing but clutter and storage. I decide I'm going to clean it out, paint, and make it into an office of sorts. So I'm home alone, except for my 2 lazy doggos, and I'm downstairs painting. I'm standing up on a ladder doing the edge work around the crown molding, and out of nowhere I get this feeling, this ominous, heavy, claustrophobic feeling, and all the fight or flight alarm bells inside me start going off. Half a moment later, my sleepy, lazy doggos, who have been sleeping in sunspots on the living room floor all day, just start going nuts, barking and howling like they're scared out of their minds. My first thought is, damn it, House, after all this time you're going to pull this shit on me. I thought we were cool. So as calmly as I can muster, I step down off the ladder and go see what's got my dog so freaked out. The barking out the front windows, so I step out on the front porch to find some guy walking around from the side of my garage. I keep the side gate padlocked, but he must have thought no one was home. It was the middle of a weekday, and maybe he would have a look around. He was surprised when he saw me and made some excuse about meeting someone to buy shingles, but he must have the wrong address, and then he was gone. I went back inside thinking, damn, thanks for looking out, House. This one is posted by Njodr, Njodr. In my hometown, there are railroad tracks that go through the middle of town, past the cemetery on the edge of town, and into nothingness. I'm from rural Arkansas, so you can imagine what it's like. Nothing but woods and fields for miles. Well, these tracks were always talked about by the teenagers. Something about a kid getting hit by the train a long time ago. So, of course, being stupid teenagers, my friends and I decided to go to the tracks one day where the kid supposedly died. So we're doing teenager things by the tracks, like putting rocks on them when out comes a stray cat from the woods. It was kind of weird because we were so far away from town, but whatever, we didn't think about it. It walks up to us, and of course we started petting it. A few minutes pass by and we are all sitting on the tracks in a line, and the cat is walking from one end to the other, taking in all the pets, when all of a sudden we has never figured this out, and it could be paranormal or my father's explanation. In my house when I was younger, I noticed a spot on the wall that was starting to look like a face. It expanded and went down into a point. This was over a process of a few weeks. I would glance at it every few days to see it grow, for the lack of a better term. Within a few weeks, the spot then grew upwards, and I swear on my son, suddenly went down in expansion. I checked on it a few days later, and it was in the shape of a devil's head. 2 points, face and chin, that ended in a point, as if it had a goatee. I freaked the fuck out and asked my mom if she had ever noticed it, and she said yes. And then said, "Does it look like a devil's face?" She then freaked and said yes, but she thought it was her imagination. We show my dad, who being a practical person stated since my mom smoked like a chimney, the residue mixed with condensation, as it was a wall that was next to the exterior of the house, and it was winter and we had snow. I was adamant that this thing took almost 2 months to form, and if it was condensation, it would drip down and not suddenly go up to make 2 perfect horns. It also would streak down more and not be a perfect shape in the middle of the wall. I swear it was a perfect devil face shape in the middle of a wall. He took some rags, wiped it off, and a few days later painted over it. It never returned. After it showed up, some extended family members had serious issues, and within 4 years, my mom and I were diagnosed with MS. It may be paranoid, but I feel that thing was an omen of bad luck. Okay, this is the last one, and this is posted by Cat7594. When I was 19, I moved to Vancouver with an ongoing off-again boyfriend. The boyfriend had a history of dabbling in Satanism, and some really creepy things happened during the time we were together, but the one that still gives me chills is the book. I had been regularly visiting a used bookstore in the neighborhood, and the owner had taken a strange interest in me. He would follow me around the store and make conversation, much of which was about a group he was part of that, according to him, had an interest in white magic. I thought it was weird but harmless, and didn't think much of it when he started telling me I was very powerful and should meet his group. I mostly thought it was just strange and maybe hitting on me in a weird old man kind of way. One day he gave me a book. He told me the book was very important and powerful and would change my life, but strongly warned me that I must never let it fall into anyone else's hands, because that kind of power cannot be trusted to just anyone. Soon after, I came home from work one day and found that my sometimes boyfriend was gone, as were all of his belongings. He had drawn a pentagram in blood on the bathroom floor for some reason, and the book was missing. Maybe a week or 2 after that, I was visiting the bookstore, and the owner asked me if I was enjoying the book. I told him it had been taken, and he freaked the hell out. He was pacing and frantic, screaming at me that I never should have let the book get into anyone else's hands. I found the whole thing very unsettling and never returned to the bookstore. Shortly after that, the boyfriend showed up again at my door with the book in hand. He gave it to me and said, "I was told I shouldn't have taken this." To this day, 20 years later, I have no idea what the hell that was all about, but would love it if anyone else has some idea and would share it. That's a mildly creepy story. So, yeah. That was it. I hope you guys are mildly creeped out, or at least a bit relaxed. If you listen